Welcome, Tron podcast guest. I got to be honest with you. This is one of the most exciting episodes that I have an honor to have a guest on here who's right up my alley. I'm not going to act like I eat well, but I try to work out and somewhat, try to stay somewhat nutritionist, but I'm going to get humbled really quick. I have a celebrity chef, Vikki Krinsky, in front of me. Thank you so much.
I mean, thanks for the intro.
I appreciate it.
What you eat.
Well, first of all, it's all about you. I can't lie to you because you're the expert on all this. So before we dive into all of my bad habits, right, I got to ask you, how did you become a celebrity chef? I looked you up. Obviously, you're from Johannesburg, South Africa, to Canada, to California. So please let me know all about you.
Yeah. The nutshell is it was never a dream job, but life has a way of taking you places, and my dream was to be a pro soccer player. That's sports and fitness, and becoming a pro athlete was everything to me as a child. And when we immigrated from South Africa to Canada, that was a rough go in the beginning. And
Sure.
I think as a child, the instability, mostly financial, played a really deep role in the way that I saw my life and what I could do to help my family. And through, as everybody has their own story, like I was at school, I was playing competitive soccer. I ended up auditioning for a school play. I got the lead in the school play. There was an agent in the audience. My immigrant parents had no idea what this really meant. The agent signed me. I was 15. And all of a sudden, it was crazy. Like all of a sudden I was going out to auditions for Diet Coke commercials, which I landed, and Dairy Queen commercials. It was a pretty exciting time, and I was getting paid a lot of money to go do these little commercials.
Yeah.
And it really changed the trajectory of my life. Like all of a sudden I landed a TV series on Lifetime. When I
saw
was 15.
that.
Yeah, it was wild. Like just so like, what is happening? No one understood what was going on. They said, you're going to go shoot a pilot. And I didn't even know what a pilot was. I was very confused. But needless to say, I moved out, I moved to Toronto, shot the show, totally like kiboshed my dreams of being a pro athlete. But ironically,
Nice backup plan.
And it wasn't my passion, but it was so exciting. And I was getting paid the money to help my family. And like, that's the way I saw it. I thought like through something bigger, it was like funneling through me that this gift came into my life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's how it started.
So how did you, first of all, I'll tell you my tip. I had the regular 15-year-old experience. Like you're worried about, I'm just gonna keep it real. Like now I'm not bashing my parents on any level, right? But like that wasn't even on my radar. You're like trying to go from 10th to 11th or 11th to, whatever grades you're in, right? So it's like, okay, you're excited to get a license. So like I'm already like here, and you're like, I was doing this at that age before I had a license.
Yeah, but remember, I had instability that like catapulted me into another plane of existence. I was young, but I was like, wait a second, I have to start dreaming I didn't know the word at the time, but I'll say it. It's like I was manifesting something bigger to help my family.
For sure.
I really do believe that. Like this was not a young girl that was like, I want to be a movie star. It was like, we got to get some money. My dad's freaking out. Like my brothers, So it threw me into the Hollywood world. But the irony of it all was that I came from a sports world. So my look, my athleticism was muscular, and I was fit, and everything I did in my life was all about how can I be the strongest soccer player, not how can I be the skinniest actress. And those two things collided. And it was really tough because I was really young and I was going through puberty, and I was changing, and I had all this pressure to lose weight and lower my voice and change my teeth. And like, it was like a whirlwind of you're great, you're talented, but your look isn't working. Like we need you to get thinner.
That's crazy. And I saw that on your, when you reached out, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, but unfortunately they have specs, I'm sure, that they have to meet for whatever respective things. And I'm sure like as time has progressed, it's more acceptable now to probably have a certain look and shape where they don't have that pressure, or at least what I've seen, or read. But at the time they had exactly this particular body type that they had. People had to fit in that quadrant for at that age, at that height, at that hair color.
100%.
That's an eye-opener as a 15, 16-year-old, right? You're like, what do you mean something's wrong with me? Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember getting called into the producer's office, and he had just come from 90210, back at the first 90210. And he wasn't the greatest man, but he did say to me, he's like, if you lost about 10 pounds and maybe looked into some veneers, like you would work a lot. And I was like, wait, what? Like it was really,
yeah,
but I took it and I thought, well, this isn't really for me. Like, I don't know how to morph myself. Plus, it didn't feel like I was in control, and there must have been something going on with my psychology back then. So I came to LA to do a movie, a Disney movie, which was about an athlete. It was a gymnastics movie. And I was thrown into the Hollywood world. But after about a year of that, I ended up taking a break. I went backpacking through Europe, and I was studying sports nutrition because I went back to the thing that I loved.
Yeah.
And I met a chef, in Paris, and like that's the end of it. It kind of it redirected my whole life. I came back to LA, basically started a private chef company working with actors and celebrities that needed to be very mindful of their body image. So what I had was no culinary experience, but I had an understanding of their relationship with food. And that's how I built my company.
Well, first of all, kudos to you for being able to just, kind of stop everything, take a perspective and say, I kind of quote unquote need to find myself. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but you're just like, I'm going to take a mental break. And then you ultimately led into your very lucrative and very successful career into being a chef. Now, when you talk about food, like I think like that is the relationship people have with food, the relationship you have with food are two different things, right? Because the relationship we have with food is, I'm just going to eat and it's all going to kind of work itself out in the end of the day, right? So, but we all get that humbling moment when gravity kicks in and we're not having our high school athletic career, so to speak, right?
Absolutely.
And then you have that WTF look in the mirror, and the shirts didn't get smaller, you got bigger, you know what I mean? So let's just call it for what it is. So your relationship with food evolved. And so how did you end up getting clients, getting the right nutrition? Because the myth of eating healthy scares people, right? So please dive into that.
Yeah, look, I'll say this, we're in a sort of a tumble dryer of trends. And I live in LA, so I live in the mecca of eating disorders. But when I first started, to me, and it was pretty innocent, I was like, how do you perform your best? That's what I was studying. That was my passion.
Right.
Like, how do we perform, even if you're not a pro athlete? That was something that was important to me. How do you feel good? So when I got into the world of celebrity, I mean, I basically lied in several interviews and said I knew what I was doing. I knew how to cook. I really did not know how to cook, but I studied a lot, and I would go to like the Salvation Army and the out of closets here in LA, and I would buy all kinds of cookbooks, like all ethnic cookbooks, like had chop cookbooks, all the cookbooks, and I would read them from front to back. And what I learned early on was I needed a signature like Chef VK way of nutrition. I needed to create that. So what I created was something called BLSSD, which is not blessed. Even though it's breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. Because at the time I thought, if I can keep someone's macros in a certain place, I'm going to create the perfect synergy between energy and body image. That was where my head was. And I made it up myself. I mean, I really didn't have that much background in what I was doing, but I had a lot of like inner confidence that allowed me to say, let me just try this. And
no doubt.
It worked. Like I had clients, I cooked for Reese Witherspoon, and she was playing a softball player, and I had 8 weeks. Me and her trainer, we had 8 weeks to just get her into a certain type of shape. It was phenomenal. It was like,
that's awesome.
Rush. Yeah, it was really fun. Really fun.
And here's the thing, like, so when I this is where I'll reference myself when in just the general public is, how do people balance, being mother, father, caretaker, caregiver, 12-hour, 10-hour workday, and they say, I'm not going to look like that because my schedule doesn't allow me to have prepared meals, a personal chef. I'm dog tired. So how do you dispel that myth to people say, no, you can achieve this even working full-time, having kids, etc.?
I think that's a great question. And I honestly think it comes down to basics. It's like, listen, you got to know your body and you have to be disciplined. Like there's no magic pill. If you're going to overeat and you're not going to exert those calories, you're going to gain weight. And not only that, but my focus isn't so much calories and protein and all that. It's a macro system. What is your day like? What is your week like? How much activity do you get? So what I say to people when I first bring them on as a client, I do a consultation and I say, for 3 days, I want you to write down what you're eating. Everything.
Mm.
There's no judgment. There's nothing. Just let's journal and see your habits. Let's
Mm-hmm.
understand when you wake up, when you go to sleep, and let's try to get a bigger picture of like the way your rhythm is with food. Because I
Right.
think a lot of people are mindless. I think we work,
No question.
we parent, we do all the things, and we're just exhausted, and then we just keep eating. We're
Yes.
not
Yes.
really listening to our bodies.
Right. And then on top of that, I read, I was reading a nutrition guide that said when you really think you're hungry, you're actually thirsty. Right. So,
Percent.
you
I
know,
say that to everybody. Drink a glass of water before you do anything.
yeah.
And always sandwich the water. Like the water comes before the meal and after the meal, not so
Yes.
during.
It's crazy, right? And then all of a sudden because you trick your mind and think you need to grab a bag of potato chips or something like that. And so I'll speak from experience, right? So I do martial arts, right? So, I have a black belt in Korean Tong Sudo. I have a brown belt in Taekwondo, which is also Korean. And I did Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I do them. And so here I was thinking I was in shape, right? And so I'm doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And one of the guys, his wife's videotapes me and him rolling, and we have our rash guards on and everything like that. And he sends me the video. And I just see the stomach juggling across. And I'm like, I have like this look of horror in my house. I'm like, this is horrific. Like, I almost wanted to cry. Because here I was doing martial arts. I was doing two styles at the time. I was doing Muay Thai and that. I'm like, dude, who is that? God, this is awful. Right?
That's
Like,
really wild.
right. So I was lying to myself, thinking that I was in shape because I was active. Right.
Right.
So I had to realize that my eating habits, had led me to look at an image that I was not proud of. Right.
Right.
And so then when you start scaling back the food, I got to be honest with you, and I want to overtalk you. The first 2 weeks are brutal when you actually start realizing how you're supposed to eat. Can you talk
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, I definitely would love to dive into how you start, what that first day of those 2 weeks looked like for you. Because
Oh,
because the truth is, like, if you do small changes every day, then you can mitigate those 2 weeks being a nightmare. I mean, it's still hard because
oh,
you're
for sure.
making changes and you're reducing calories and you're also not going to eat the sugar. And I think we're all addicted.
Right,
So
right.
when you remove something, yeah, you have to. That's when I say discipline comes in because you have to want to do it. It
Yep.
cannot be like a forced habit. You have to say, I got to make change and I want to make change. And then those
Right.
changes happen. And that's when you rewire those habits.
Yes.
So I would ask you, what was the hardest part of those 2 weeks?
Honestly, when I got a food tracker and it was actually measuring everything that I was eating, which you talked about earlier. And then the second thing about it was waking up and actually having a discernible plan about what I was going to eat before I did. Because sometimes you can autopilot it, wake up, get the bowl of cereal. It's really not 1 cup at all. Like what people think is 1 cup of something is a total, not even close, right?
It's
Not
like
even,
4 for sure.
oh my God. Oh my God. Or like, like a serving of chips is 12 chips, right? You know what I'm saying? And like tell somebody to eat 12 chips. Like,
Right,
like,
right. Actually do that with a client. I used to say you can have 10 almonds. That's all you can have. You can have 10 almonds. But
yes.
he had me there and I would give him 10 almonds and that's all
Oh,
he here's a big trick, and I think your viewers, your listeners will love this, is like you gotta clean out the pantry. First,
mm-hmm.
you gotta
Yep.
throw that stuff away. And I
Yep.
hate throwing food out. I hate throwing food out, but you cannot have that in your kitchen. It starts with
Gotta
what you
go.
have access to.
Gotta go. It's
Gotta
too
go.
tempting. Yeah. One of my biggest, obviously I'm nowhere close to this guy's physique, is LL Cool J. I got his book. He wrote 2 books, right? So
Yeah.
the first thing he said in that book was clean out your pantry. And you're like, because it wasn't not workout, not, because I think the myth is that somehow somebody magically got to that point. And it's like, nah, man, there's a lot of pain and tears involved.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So what was crazy was, when I started actually, having avocados, when I would have like, almond milk and oat milk, and I would measure the milk, and I'm like, okay, this is a true 1 cup. Then it was like, okay, and I was starving, right? Like I'm like, and I would not like I wasn't gonna like pass out on the floor. I'm like, good grief, like, but my body was slowly going through that change of like,
Yeah.
okay, now you're processing foods differently, and it took an adjustment period. So it was humbling. It was really humbling.
I think that's such a great way to share your experience with people. It's real. It's
Oh yeah.
not easy, but how did you feel when you started seeing the pounds come off? Like what
Beautiful.
was before?
Beautiful. You know what I mean? And then like I'm 42. And so when people come up to you and they tell you you look younger,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, I really didn't, but I'm like, and then actually what's weird, and again, this is about you, not me, is you'll be more disciplined even at the barbecue. You know what I'm saying? Like, even you'll have second thoughts, even like, okay, I'm at a fun event, but I bet I'm going to pay a price for this because I worked too hard and I'm far from like, the elite physique, right? But it certainly helps to have that kind of thought in your mind.
Yes. And I will piggyback off of that and say that another little hack that I give some clients is, so that feeling when you're at the barbecue and you're looking at it and you're like, wow, I just did a week and that week was so hard. I don't want to regress. I tell clients that in your day, while you're sitting at your desk or what you're doing, before you go grab that bag of chips or whatever that thing is that might not be the best choice, do 10 push-ups. Do 10 push-ups and like rewire that little moment in your head where you're like, I just want something sweet. I want something bad. I want something. You rewiring that by getting down and doing some push-ups or sit-ups or whatever that is, or going for a walk and not eating. It's like a really fun little tool to do. But again, it all starts from you wanting to make the change.
Unquestionably. And so, I got to ask you, so obviously, because again, nobody's going to come for me for physical fitness advice. I'm just a guy who's just trying to, look good in his advancing years. So let's talk about your energy bar real quick, because I was very fascinated by it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was a product of, basically a client of mine was drinking too much caffeine, and his doctor and I kind of were in cahoots about how do we continue helping him with his energy levels while he's shooting a movie. Mm-hmm. He was up for 16, 17 hours a day, and we tried some Chinese medicine. He didn't really love the flavors of anything. I was his full-time chef. Nutrition is my background. So I thought, wow, I've really got to like step it up here. And he ended up getting a B12, a nurse come to set and do a B12 shot. And I researched a little bit. I thought, why is there no snack on the market that is pure vitamins without the chemical stabilizers, without the artificial sweeteners, without the caffeine? And so I started developing this little vitamin B complex ball. And it was like, I had flaxseed oil and, thyme and olive oil and just really unique flavors. But I was trying to just incorporate all of these vitamins in something that he could enjoy eating. And that's where it started. I mean, I launched 2020 just before COVID.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know what CPG was, like consumer product good. No idea what that was. Didn't realize how much money this was going to be. Like really kind of blindly went into, I'm going to have a product that is going to work.
Right.
It really took off. And
that's awesome.
I'm over the moon having something that I'm so proud of. It's honestly like in a sea full of energy bars, because the world doesn't need more of them.
Right.
This bar that I was able to formulate through a lot of R&D. I mean, it took me a year and a half.
Of course.
And it's finished another iteration in May. Yeah, I'm really proud of them. I can't wait to send you some. They're really unique.
Please. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because that's the next question I was going to ask you, because people get flooded with fads and things on Instagram, TikTok, and I'm not bashing social media platforms, but I'm simply saying people have an abundance of information that has gone towards them. So how do they discern, the average person who's, just before they go to work or just before they go work out, how do they know what the valid information is of what's good and what's bad? And I just want to, before you answer that, I only say that because if people actually look up what burns fat, there's not a single thing on the U.S. nutritional guideline of any pill that actually burns fat.
Yeah, again, another great question. I think everybody's going to have their own perspective on what they value. Bodybuilders value protein, and they'll eat a ton of artificial sweetener to just get that protein. Like a Quest bar. I value really clean, authentic ingredients. I think our body runs better when we are eating things that are organic. And I don't mean organic as in non-organic or organic. I'm talking about something that grows on a tree.
Yes, right.
Like that type. So
right.
I think for anybody that really wants to decrease gut inflammation and eat a cleaner product, I think they should look at the nutrition label, make sure that there is nothing artificial in there. There's no soy lecithins, there's no stabilizers. I'm not big on artificial sweeteners. I think if you're going to have sweet, have it be date or honey, something that is really natural. I make my bars with dates, and that's the sugar in there. And I think just being able to read the label, I mean, we're hearing it more and more. I think we're sort of shifting over into the space of, can you pronounce the ingredients in the ingredient label? That's a great start. You know, like, it's not a scientific research lab behind the bar. It's like, how do we eat that our body can break it down? You don't get a Ferrari and go put like shitty oil in that. You know, you gotta get like 91 octane. Like, you want to make it so it's gonna purr. And I always tell people, your body is your Ferrari. It's like, that's your Porsche 911. Like, make it purr. So.
No question, without question. And you know, the thing is about it, it's like, the problem is that, and even me to a degree, it's like, you'll have a really solid month where you're like on point, but then to sustain it is, you know, the discipline that it takes. So how do you maintain somebody who's disciplined, who still wants to have, you know, hey, I need this weekend to just kind of pig out, so to speak, like, you know, either between a shoot, you know, or they just say, hey, I need to live a little bit because I have a certain craving. How do you balance somebody's cravings?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. But I also think once you get to a certain place and you start to see how your body looks and feels, those like cheat days, they're different, because you'll have a cheat day after you're clean and you won't feel great. So you're not going to like jump to go do that again. That's the beauty of it. There's a evolution that happens with nutrition, that if you make these small changes and you still are eating, you know, listen, no one wants to wake up and eat lettuce. We all want like delicious food and we want to feel good. So it's a little bit of what feels good to you. What is you're a pizza guy, and we remove pizza from your diet 5 days a week, and then on Sunday you have like a couple pieces of pizza. Cool. Let's see how your body interacts with that. Maybe you're doing just enough those 5 days that those, you know, that little bit of pizza is not going to make a big difference. But I'll tell you, if you remove pizza for a month and then you go back to eat a piece of pizza.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. You know, like, I'll spare people. I'll give you PG. It's a terrible feeling. It really, truly is. You know? So here's a question I have on a personal level. How does a guy get rid of like the dad little bit thing that just does not seem to remove off the stomach? You know, where's that area got to come off from? Like, it's still all diet.
It's a bit complex, because you kind of want to go into your background. You want to like look and see if there's diabetes in the family. You want to like check out your blood test. That's a big one. But if we're talking like, you know, generalization, it's really about putting on more muscle and burning more calories. So the more muscle you have in your body, the more calories you'll burn, is essentially how that works, right? So you have a little bit of something around your stomach. I would say, let's ramp up some of that strength training. Let's make sure that you're getting enough protein. You know, people say somewhere between 1.2 grams per pound of real clean protein, like a leucine protein and a whey protein. Making sure you're getting enough protein and you're lifting. You know, you should end up shifting your fat. You know, there's a lot of complexity in that, but that's the idea. So if I said to you, let's quickly run through like what you eat in a day, which I'm sure a lot of people would relate to. If you want to give me that, I can give you some ideas where there might be some holes or something that you can improve to see a difference around your stomach.
And what's crazy is that, you know, the amount that's come off, and so like, you're like, the amount you still want to come off is when you start realizing how hard it actually gets. Because you're like, man, you know, it's getting where it is, but it's like that last 10-15% of where you want to be. You're like, dude, you know, but you have to get that mental block out of your head and say, no, that's where I want to be, and that's how I'm going to get it. And, you know.
Yeah. I would say like even incorporating 2 days a week of like sprinting, that'll help shift.
I'm not sure what I do is called sprinting when I actually try to do it.
And I'm talking sprinting like 30 seconds. I'm saying go pull out 30 seconds, like 1 minute break, 30 seconds. You do that 5 times twice a week. I mean, you're really just taking a 10-minute window. You know, you want to warm up, make sure you're warm. Then you do your like intervals, and then you cool down and you make sure you have a lot of protein after that and some good carbs to replenish the glycogens. And you should you should see a shift.
Okay.
Consistency, baby. Consistency.
I'll tell you one thing, you can't lie to a personal trainer / chef, right? So like, it's funny, you can lie to yourself, but, ultimately you're the expert here. And that's why, I was so stoked to be able to pick your brain, because the relationship people have with food, I mean, it's a culture thing. It's a family thing. Sometimes it brings people from polar opposites together. It may be the only time you see people that, you normally wouldn't interact with. And so, but the relationship people have with food can also have very deadly consequences too, because it can become obsessive. It can become destructive. It can become an outlet for you not, whatever depression you're having in life. So there's multitudes of things, and it's so accessible, not to everybody, but we have a lot of grocery stores and junk available at our disposal.
Yes. You nailed it. It's your relationship with food. I think everybody should just have a quiet moment with themselves in their day and say, okay, what are my goals? How do I feel? Where do I want to be? And then from there, it's clarity. And just like whether it's your relationship with food, or your relationship with your career, or your relationship with an intimate loved one, you have to have clarity on what you want. Because without the clarity, we're all just, like I was saying to you before we started recording, like we're wandering this earth not knowing what to do. So we need clarity. So the first thing first is like, what's your goal? Where do you want to be? And then from there, let's take note of what we're doing right now in our life to help make those changes to get to that goal. And it's as simple as that, but it takes a minute.
It does. So just briefly, and I know your time is very, very valuable, and I'm appreciative of it. What's Recipe Rehab? I got a chance to see that about you.
Yeah, Recipe Rehab was my cooking show. It was on CBS and Hulu. And it was a really cool show. We basically took traditional recipes like your mom's chicken pot pie, and we revamped it into a much healthier dish. And so the concept was like, how do you take something you love but clean it up a little bit?
Okay. And I'm sure that that's a pretty humbling thing, because, I don't think the average person when they're a kid, and maybe mom didn't know, or maybe mom just, that's what she knew, you can really like strip it down bare of what can be healthier for you. How was the response to people when they were actually getting that recipe, that was kind of stripped down more into a healthier?
If you said to me, what would be your dream? I would say that Recipe Rehab got back up on the air, because that was the most fulfilling job I really have ever had. Because now I work with celebrities, and it's very fulfilling, and I love it, and I'm grateful beyond. But they have a lot of access. And Recipe Rehab, we worked with families that didn't have access to a private chef and so forth. So it was the response to it was, you're not only giving the family like a new recipe and something delicious to eat, but you're actually working with the kids and the grandparents, and you had everybody involved in the kitchen, and the relationship with the food makes a big difference.
Right. It really is. And it becomes a family moment, right? And, like I said, it sounds corny, but it really is an actual together kind of moment, because when the standard meal gets cooked, you just watch TV, and then when it's done, it's done. But when everybody's kind of having to read the book and use the ingredients and kind of get together, spilling stuff, sometimes something tastes terrible, to see the look on somebody's face, right? And you're like, well, yeah, it kind of tastes good, spit off to the side.
Absolutely. No, it's powerful. But listen, like if you're at home and you have a partner, or you live with someone, a roommate, and you both are on this new path to like, hey, let's both try to lose 7 pounds in the next couple months, or, you've got that power is big. Like
for sure it is.
It's accountability.
It is. It really is. And so, like I said, I could pick your brain for quite some time, because I think I can say that a lot of people relate, to when they had aspirations of a certain athletic career, and then it didn't pan itself out. Unlike a lot of those people, you took it to the next level, and you made sure that you helped others along the way. Nutrition is, the bane of a lot of people's existence. And so the lane that you've carved out and the people that you've helped and could continue to help, I'm honored that you found time out of your busy schedule to come on my little show.
Oh man, it is such a pleasure. You are such a light in this world. I've known you for 38 minutes, and I dig you. I want to talk to you more,
appreciate it.
Do this again. And
yes.
For having me. I really appreciate it. And listen, to anybody that's out there, like, I just want to throw this out there today. Like, make today that that little change, drink an extra cup of water, get down, do a little bit of push-ups, whatever that is, but make a change and empower yourself to do it because it's your world. This is your experience.
It is. And, and the crazy part for me was like I said, when you get a camera that's not yours and you don't turn at the angle that's favorable to you, and it's the perspective and it shows what it really is, or you don't get that mirror that kind of you always gravitate to, it's a humbling experience when you're not lying to yourself. So,
yeah. And sorry, just to jump on that too, is there's a reason you saw that. Something bigger wanted you to make those changes.
Yep.
And you've got a long life to live, and you're just more intentional now. And I think that's wonderful. And surround yourself with people that encourage that. You can always reach out. Anybody.
For sure. You don't crash into things that you don't allow in your orbit, right? So that's my philosophy, plain and simple. So I just want to say thank you, Vikki Krinsky, for allowing your time to be on the Tron podcast. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day today.
You too.
Thank you.